The Paradise. I encourage everyone, if you can get your hands on a copy of that, watch it because it is a very... Brian De Palma directed it, so do I need to say any more?
Yeah, he was around too. So, all right, well, Beth, it's good having you visit me and go over some of these films. I know that you and I have a lot in common. Of course, just real quick, we don't want to forget Buckets of Blood, do we?
Oh,
The people out there are saying, what are they talking about? But was that Roger Corman do that, or was it American Embassy, or excuse me, International?
You know, I bet you Roger Corman had his hand in it. I would guarantee it.
And he did some excellent stuff.
Yes.
He just had a lot of low-budget films, but he was real fun. But you brought a little friend here. We're just going to have him do something. If we can zoom in, and he is a...
werewolf.
All righty. I don't know. He wanted to say hi on camera. I don't know if we can get him in there or not. But, well, anyway, I've got him up. He's going to do a little thing for us here. Clap for the Wolfman. Well, that is appropriate for a werewolf person and for somebody to bring on the show. Beth, thank you so much.
Well,
stay tuned. We have more of our Halloween show coming up next.
I'm Stephanie Zakutansky, and I'm going to go over some brief biographies of a few well-known horror performers in motion picture history. Boris Karloff, the Frankenstein monster. Imhotep, the living mummy. John Gray, the body snatcher. These characters are so vividly rendered, so believably realized, they seem to exist on a different plane from other silver screen boogeymen. They are 3D creations in a two-dimensional world. The actor who conjured up these rogues was, of course, Boris Karloff. In fact, Karloff breathed life into a greater number of fabled characters than any other player in horror cinema history. He remains the unparalleled standard-bearer for acting excellence in horror cinema. During a career that spanned 6 decades, Karloff gave dozens of timeless performances and starred in more groundbreaking fright films than any other actor. Although monster movie fans often compare Karloff with Bela Lugosi or Vincent Price or Peter Cushing, such comparisons understate Karloff's impact. The slender ribbon that ties together Karloff's best performances is the disarming sense of vulnerability he brought to the screen, a humanity that could not be hidden beneath any amount of grease paint and collodion. Off-screen, he was famously unfrightening, good-humored, and genteel. Perhaps from his fundamental kindness sprang Karloff's unique ability to make even the vilest villains somewhat sympathetic. Frankenstein. With his star-making turn as the Frankenstein monster, Karloff sculpted a cinematic landmark. No one had ever attempted a role quite like it, and despite numerous efforts, no one has yet surpassed it. One indicator of the American vernacular, creating a Frankenstein. Karloff's monster, like other fictional characters such as Superman and Tarzan, quickly became a cultural touchstone. Frankenstein remains not only the best and most important performance of Karloff's career, it ranks among the most striking portrayals in cinema history and stands, arguably, as the greatest ever offered in a horror film. Karloff's performance provided the linchpin for the phenomenal success of Frankenstein. The film's commercial triumph, coupled with Universal's other 1931 hit, Dracula, sired the golden age of horror cinema. In addition, Karloff's interpretation of the monster as a sympathetic character provided a roadmap for legendary Universal monsters that would follow. Characters such as the Mummy, the Invisible Man, the Wolfman, and later, the creature from the Black Lagoon would inspire as much pathos as fear, endearing themselves to generations of moviegoers. The monster cannot comprehend why Frankenstein's assistant, Fritz, torments him. Confused, it flails and backs away. After clumsily knocking over a chair, it sulks in the corner. When Fritz continues to poke at the monster with a torch, it lashes out in anger but is subdued by Frankenstein and Waldman. Locked in the cellar, the creature is sadistically whipped by Fritz. Eyes wide with fear, the monster howls mournfully. Although he has no lines, Karloff invented for the monster a surprisingly expressive vocabulary of growls and moans. Combined with his exquisite pantomime, cringing from the whip, throwing his arms up in terror, he beautifully evokes our sympathy. The monster kills Fritz, and later Dr. Waldman, who is attempting to vivisect the creature. This mournful naivete, touchingly affected by Karloff, lends power to the film's most emotionally charged scene, the monster's fateful encounter with the little girl, Maria. The monster child, who has endured abuse and abandonment, finally finds acceptance, a playmate. It looks awestruck when Maria tenderly offers daisies. Her tiny, soft hand disappears into the monster's giant, rough one. Wearing a grin, it follows her lead, tossing blossoms into the lake and watching them float away. When the flowers are all gone, it reaches out for Maria, still smiling, hands up, palms up, all gestures that indicate friendship, playfulness, and tosses her into the water. When the girl, unlike the flowers, quickly sinks, the monster's arms flail in panic. It stumbles away through the bushes, its face twisted with confusion and horror. Karloff plays this heart-wrenching scene so believably that it can be difficult to watch. The 1991 restoration of the film, which reinstated the long-lost conclusion of this sequence, enriched Frankenstein immeasurably. Ironically, Karloff himself lobbied to edit this scene, which he considered too brutal. Finally, although it's neither horror nor cinema, no list of Karloff's greatest performances is complete without How the Grinch Stole Christmas. By narrating and providing the Grinch's voice for this cherished holiday classic, Karloff co-created another cultural touchstone. Karloff's reading of Seuss's playful verse is theatrical yet intimate, as inventive as the script itself. Once again, Karloff creates two characters, the Grinch and the story's narrator, and gives each a distinct voice. Of all Karloff's roles, none are more beloved than this one, and a few were more influential. The Grinch, with its blend of holiday spirit and spook show atmosphere, still reverberates through popular culture. Among some of Karloff's other notable films were The Raven, The Black Cat, Tower of London, Bride of Frankenstein, and Son of Frankenstein.
I'm Quick Draw Kathy at this here shooting contest. You know, I can shoot bottles out of the air and toss coins out from the air. I can even light the candle from 50 feet. I can even shoot the buckle off the mayor's breeches. However, you might want to have a town doctor and an undertaker for that one. Hello. I am Officer Hanrahan here, and last night was Halloween, and I had several complaints. I had 16 smashed pumpkins. I had a male flasher at a woman's gym, and I had a woman flasher at a men's gym. I had an armed robbery at a convenience store. The robber wore a Donald Duck mask. I had a dozen kids dressed as ghosts running around a 24-hour restaurant. And we had a drunk who crashed his car into a tree, dressed as a leprechaun. I have got to get transferred into homicide.
From the depths of Hades this Halloween comes two charming yet dangerous devilesses to claim human souls. I wonder who the unfortunate ones will be this year.
Ready to go to Earth for a Halloween plunder, Ginger?
Yes, Gwendolyn. On my agenda, I have 4 politicians, a racing driver, and a woman rock star.
Ooh, good. I've got 2 corrupt businessmen, a conceited Emmy Award-winning actor, and a woman with 4 boyfriends and uses all their credit cards.
Then I'm going to be going to the Devil's Ball in Boston.
That's great. And I'll be going to the devilesses' mass in San Francisco. Be careful this Halloween.
We might be coming for you.
On Halloween night, the creature of the Community Service Center lurks about in the halls. No one had better be caught alone. Beware.